guys, this is Kelley here, and we are back today talking about natural ways to heal anxiety and depression. Depression and anxiety has reached and hit about 16.2 million people in the entire world, and it's a constant growing epidemic. It's very, very important for us to pay attention to these things because anxiety and depression isn't something that you can wear on your shoulder or you wear on your sleeve. It's not that you can see them physically sick, right? It is definitely a disease that can be hidden, and being that it can be hidden, it can be causing so much trauma and pain in the inside that us on the outside aren't able to see. So even before we get started, I want you guys to just know that it's very important to check up on your friends. It's very important to check up on the people around you. Even the strongest people that you may know is very, very important to check up on them and ask about their mental health, because this is something that is really affecting a lot of people and no one's talking about it, right? So before we even get started with that, know the suicide hotline. You're going to learn the different ways and modalities that anxiety and depression can present itself. But if you know anybody or if you even see abnormal behavior, please contact the suicide hotline or please reach out to that friend, because everybody needs somebody to talk to. And a lot of times with these different issues and illnesses that we may have, especially something that you can't wear on your shoulder, you can't see physically, it's not something that's talked about and it's kind of brushed under the rug. And so we want to pull it out from under the rug and address it. All right, so today we're going to be talking about natural ways to healing anxiety and depression. And we like to put those two together, but they are two totally different emotions. So anxiety is a state of stress, a state of worry. Say you're thinking too much, say you're moving too much, say it's too much panic. Typically it comes from being under a lot of stress, all right? It is also a B1 deficiency, and that is a vitamin deficiency, and we'll talk about that a little later on. Depression is a completely different emotion, all right? So depression is hopelessness, feeling like you're wanting to give up, feeling like you have no place in the world, feeling like the world would be a lot better without you. This is depression, all right? And depression is typically a B3 deficiency, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too. So we have appropriate depression and we have inappropriate depression. So appropriate depression is, say someone in your family has passed away, say you lost your job, say a family member is very, very sick. That is definitely something to be sad about and to be depressed about. And then you have inappropriate depression when you don't know exactly where it's coming from and you just feel kind of sad all of a sudden and it's just coming on you. You have no idea. And so that's the kind of depression we're going to talk about today in relation to the anxiety we're going to kind of counteract one-on-one today, all right? So when we're talking about anxiety and depression and any other discussion that we may have moving forward, you never want to treat the symptom. You want to treat the root cause, right? So a lot of times when we're going to the doctor and we're looking for somebody to fix that, something to fix that emotion is a symptom. That is not the cause of the symptom. All right, so before we even get started on different ways to how to heal it, we're going to figure out exactly what the causes are, because you can't heal anything that you're just going to put a Band-Aid over, right? You really want to get to the root cause and figure out why this is constantly or this is even happening in the first place. So the first place we want to check is your diet. All right, so is your diet full of junk food, bad food? These are horrible carbs for you. We all know what those bad carbs are, those refined grains. These are pasta, chips, cookies, crackers, breads, white bread specifically, things like that. These are things that are not good for you, all right? So when you have a lot of different, bad food and bad sugars in your diet, what people don't realize is the increased amount of bad food that you have and increased amount of bad sugars in your diet depletes the amount of good vitamins that you have in your diet. So therefore, you're getting all these symptoms, not because you're doing something in your life is going so wrong, but your diet is just kind of bad, right? And so therefore your body can't absorb the good nutrients because you're not, one, putting the good nutrients in, and two, you're depleting it with all the constant sugar, refined grains, and all these different toxins that you're putting in your body with all these different foods that you're having. So you really want to look at your diet. That is so, so, so important. You cannot cannot overcome anything with a bad diet, all right? Also, a part of your diet is low fat. So if you see yourself, and a low fat diet is not having enough fat, right? So this could be just constantly eating things that say low fat, boiling your chicken to the point where it has no fat in it, cooking your vegetables in the spray instead of the natural coconut oil or olive oil, or not getting in enough fish, those omega-3s, the EPA and DHA. These are all characteristics of having a low-fat diet. Why is fat important? Fat is important because it stimulates your hormones and it stimulates your cholesterol. Now, I know that when you hear cholesterol, you're like, oh my God, cholesterol is bad. No, actually, your body really needs cholesterol. Why? Because if you don't have enough cholesterol, you cannot produce cortisol. And so cortisol is another thing that people see as a bad thing, but cortisol actually really loves you. So cortisol is your body's natural defense mechanism. So every time you get into a state of fear or a state of anxiety or something that, bothers you or projects harm onto your body, your cortisol is instantly let off, right? And so if you don't have enough cortisol, if you don't have enough cholesterol to produce enough cortisol, then your hormones are all jacked out of place because your body cannot defend you, right? So therefore, when you go to the doctor and your doctor says, oh, well, your cortisol is off, well, because your body's extremely stressed or your diet's pretty poor, right? So really pay attention to that. You're going to want to have a diet that has good high fat and an amazing diet, and we're going to talk about that too. All right, your blood sugars. Your blood sugars, again, can throw you off. And the one reasons why I say again is because it goes hand in hand with your diet. So that means if your diet's out of whack, you're eating too many carbs, that is spiking like that insulin, then dropping that insulin. Those abnormal reaches and those highs and lows can really throw off your natural chemistry and your hormones in your body, which can cause symptoms of anxiety, depression. I know this is listed third, but the third one that we have up there is sleep. Sleep is so important. I can't even begin to tell you how important sleep is. It should have actually been number one, because if you do not sleep, then your body cannot recover. Your body sleeps, and it's so important. That's why people say eat, sleep, use the bathroom, right? Because these are things that are critical to your overall lifestyle. So if you're not sleeping, your body cannot recover. And if you're not sleeping, sleeping can be characterized, depression can be characterized just from a lack of sleep. Have you ever taken a baby to the grocery store and the baby is crazy crying and very irritable? And it's not because the baby has anxiety. It's not because the baby is depressed, because the baby's probably not going through any of that at this stage of life. It's because the baby is tired. And so sometimes our bodies do that too, but just show it in a different way. So instead of us being crying and cranky, we're spazzing out. We can't really function. We're in constant worry, constant stress, constant fear, constant panic. We just don't feel like ourselves, and that's because we lack sleep. Sleep is so important. So if you're not getting an adequate amount of sleep, you're not going to feel in the best state. I've never seen anybody that has an ample amount of sleep and is fully energized and depressed at the same time. Well, that really doesn't happen, right? So make sure you're getting a lot of sleep. Check that sleep. Your serotonin levels, all right? So your serotonin is your happy hormone. It actually controls whether you're full or not in your body. It controls a lot of different hormones in your body. So your serotonin is very important. So when you think about serotonin, this is your neurotransmitter. So this is a hormone that transmits signals to the brain. 80% of your serotonin, what people don't realize, 80% of your serotonin is produced where? In your gut. Your serotonin, 80% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. So what does that mean to you? That means to me that if my gut is not healthy, if I am constantly putting in toxic food and toxic elements and not taking care of my gut, if I'm not constantly taking care of my gut, if I'm not constantly excreting, and if something just stopped up, maybe it's, any type of illness that we may have with our gut, we may not be in the happiest moods, right? So you want to make sure that your gut is healthy, so it's producing healthy serotonin. So serotonin is this neurotransmitter. Where do we get the serotonin? So we get serotonin specifically, and you can get it from over-the-counter methods, but it's tryptophan, it's converted into serotonin. So tryptophan is an amino acid, right, that we find in food. Again, that is something that you can get over the counter, but tryptophan is found in a lot of foods. And actually, tryptophan has a lot of the B vitamins that you're lacking that causes the anxiety and depression, right? So this is the breakdown of serotonin. Serotonin is your happy hormone that comes from your happy food. And if you're not getting food in your body that makes your body happy, you're not producing serotonin, boom, and you're becoming anxiety ridden and depressed, all right? So we want to look for foods that are high in tryptophan, all right? This is a natural amino acid. If you know that you cannot get an ample amount of tryptophan, or maybe you want to go ahead and get a kickstart on getting that tryptophan in your body so you can produce that happy hormone that can only be produced through an adequate amount of sleep, through great blood sugar levels, which comes from your diet. You can get it over the counter. They sell it over the counter. Tryptophan is one of those amino acids that likes to compete with everything else that's going on as you're processing different foods and things. So if you want to get something over the counter, you want to take it on an empty stomach. Tryptophan is one of those amino acids that you want to take on an empty stomach. Your next one, poor digestion. All right, so if your digestion is poor and you're not absorbing enough vitamins and minerals and things of that nature, then you're not going to be able to absorb the adequate amount of B3 and B1. Therefore, it can leave you feeling anxiety ridden or depressed. All right, a lot of people that have digestion issues, these are people, maybe if you have IBS, Crohn's disease, any type of gastric disorder, maybe even if you had surgery, like a gastric bypass surgery, and even if you're lactose intolerant, you may have digestive disorders. So what happens is if you can't absorb both of those, right? You're starting to feel, you feel anxiety ridden and depressed. So you want to make sure that we check digestion in your gut, because like I said, a lot of these happy hormones are produced in your gut. And if your gut's not healthy, because you're doing all of these things above, then you're going to feel like all of these things to the left, right? Or to your right. All right, so with all those being said, I want you guys to kind of take a look at, your lifestyle and what you have going on. I want you to fill out everything that kind of goes with you. Is your diet an optimum point? Like, is your diet on point? You have a healthy fat diet. You have all the junk foods out. Are your blood sugars level? How do you test if your blood sugars are level? If you have an immediate drop in your blood sugar, it kind of feels like shaky, cold sweats, you're feeling confused. A sugar high, you won't really necessarily feel a sugar high if you're constantly eating sugars. Say for instance, somebody that constantly has a salty diet. Well, you don't know what it tastes like to take the salt completely out of your diet and then add it in until you take it completely out, right? So you're not going to feel the high as much as you would feel the low. So if you're eating, all of those refined carbs and sugars that we spoke of. So those are the things that you really, really, really want to pay attention to. So these are things that you really, really want to check. Go ahead and analyze yourself and see where you fit in. I know another one that I did not put in, and as it relates to the root cause of why these things happen, is, and I should add it in, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, is your stress levels. If you constantly are in an environment that is full of toxic things, people, places, things, then your body is going to be constantly stressed, because just as those play a huge role on why you could be feeling anxiety and depressed as much as the foods can, they kind of go hand in hand, and you really want to pay attention to those. And as difficult as we may make it seem that maybe we need to eliminate some jobs, maybe we need to eliminate some people, maybe we need to eliminate some spouses, or maybe we need to set boundaries for ourselves, these things are very, very important. So just take a look at your lifestyle and the people that you're allowing in your life and the environment that you have all around you, and see if those things fit into what you have going on. Maybe this person over there is making you extremely stressed. Your job is stressing you out. Your boss is driving you crazy. Your kids will not sit down. Your husband's running back and forth. Your wife is jumping off the walls. I mean, these things are very important, but these are also things that we don't pay attention to when we walk into the doctor's office and ask the doctor for them to fix something that we could have fixed on our own, right? So these are natural things that we want to really pay attention to. So how do we fix it, right? How do we get rid of it? So fixing it, you want foods that are rich in these B1 and B3 vitamins, all right? Like I said, anxiety comes from a lack of B1 typically. Depression comes from a lack of B3. B1, these are your beef, your pork, your eggs, your nuts, your seeds, oats, bunch of different foods that have B1 vitamins, all right? Depression is a lack of B3, all right? So in general, B vitamins are so important. They're like the complete mechanisms of your life. They keep you going and keep you feeling great, all right? So B3 vitamins, your turkey, chicken, nuts, beef, seeds, all of these things, salmon, tuna, all of these things have a lot of B3 vitamins. So you really want to look for foods that are rich in B1 and B3. The big thing about B3, because they are needed in such ample amounts, you find a lot of fortified foods. And fortified means that those foods that naturally come with it in, they added it to it. We don't want fortified foods. We want the real deal, all right? So look for the real deal Holyfield, all right? Your EFAs, all right? Your EFAs these are your fish oils, all right? Your essential fatty acids that you need in your diet. This goes back to, are we having a low-fat diet or are we having a really good high-fat diet? High-fat doesn't mean you're getting fat. High-fat doesn't mean that you don't need fat. High-fat isn't a bad thing. Now, if you're eating high-fat cheeseburgers, fries, pizza, candy, cookies, that's totally different. But if you're eating salmon, nuts, avocados, that's a completely different thing, right? So you want to look for a lot of foods that have your essential fatty acids, all right? These make up all the chemistry of our brain and our nervous systems. And if you don't have fat in your diet, your brain will be completely out of whack. So if you have brain fog, if you notice that your thinking is completely off than what it used to be, maybe you're getting thoughts that you've never gotten before. A lot of these are very common with people that have anxiety and depression because a lot of times they're not having their essential fatty acids in their diet. All right, another one is vitamin D. Vitamin D is such an important vitamin. This is actually the most deficient vitamin D deficient vitamin in the US. That's why it's extremely important that you get your vitamin D. Yes, you can take it over the counter. I take it over the counter. Anybody can take it over the counter. Vitamin D you get from the sunlight, all right? So the sun rays produce that vitamin D inside of your body. So if you're not getting enough sunshine, or better yet, if your body's not absorbing enough of the vitamin D, then you're going to constantly feel sad. This is the sunshine vitamin. It makes you happy. And just to get on that a little bit more, lighter tone people versus darker tone people, I would consider myself a darker tone person. It takes me a longer time to absorb that vitamin D than a lighter skinned person, all right? So that means that people that are darker skin, we need more. People that are lighter skin, they need less, all right? So this is why it takes darker skinned people, and we typically have vitamin D deficiencies over everybody, all right? That's how important it is. Over everybody in the world that has a lighter skin than us. So that is very important. So make sure you get that vitamin D. Vitamin D is like one of the end-all vitamins that we'll get into, and it's very, very, very important. Also with vitamin D, a lot of times people have seasonal depression. If you find yourself as one of those people that have seasonal depression, it's because when it's cold outside, we don't go outside, right? So when it's cold outside, we're like, ooh, we don't want to go outside. It's too cold, blah, blah, blah. Same thing when it's hot outside. When it's too hot outside, we don't want to go outside, all right? So when we're not outside getting the vitamin D, nor are we taking the vitamin D, we are vitamin D deficient, all right? So add that vitamin D into your diet, all right? So we don't have, and now if we're not producing enough of the essential fatty acids, we're not getting any of the fat soluble vitamins, which is your vitamin A, D, E, and K. And these make your hormones. So if you don't have these vitamins to make your hormones, and you're not producing your hormones are not functioning, working properly like you would want them to, all right? And statin usage, all right? A lot of people that use statins, if you know what statins are, or if you use statins, you know that statins are typically for people that have high blood pressure. So statins decrease your ability to produce cholesterol, and cholesterol is very, very important. So if it's not producing cholesterol, it's not producing cortisol, therefore you have a lot of toxins in your body, therefore your hormones aren't stimulated, right? So make sure that I cannot tell you not to take your statins, but just pay attention to that. If they're decreasing your ability to produce cholesterol, which produces the rest of your hormones, you are more likely to become anxiety-ridden or depressed. All right, so I really want to thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to be wonderful. You guys, I hope you took a lot out of this. If you guys have any questions about it, please feel free to contact me. My Instagram is KelleytheGreat, KelleyThe Great, GREAT, or you can email me. The email will be below. And feel free to ask any questions that you want to ask. Majority of the questions that I do get, I may not answer them and fully write down there, but we will create a video out of it, because if you have that question, maybe somebody else has that question, right? And so we don't want to just educate one person, we want to educate the entire world. You guys are doing awesome. Stay tuned. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye.